Let's first of all talk about French business, because today we know that Macron, the president of France, is going to be meeting with tech leaders. Is he good for business at the moment still?
Oh, yeah, without any doubt. We see it on the market. The French market is doing much better. Particularly trust is back, and I think people have a lot of hope that 2018 is going to be a good year for the French economy, and hopefully it's going to continue in the future.
What about 2018 for your business? We're here talking about technology, and while you're in automation, connection, you're also in electric vehicles. Which of those are you focusing on to drive revenue?
No, I mean, all of them. Obviously, this is not going to be an increase of revenue in 2018 or 2019. These are all investments that are going to prepare the growth of the companies 2020, 2021, and beyond. But, our cycle in terms of technology and product is very long. So what you're doing today is something that's going to be visible 3 or 4 years down the road. The selling of today is mainly the fruit of what we have done 3 or 4 years ago.
The fruit of electric vehicles are already selling 500,000 or so per year, but you sell 10 million cars in the Alliance per year. When will you start to see that scale more? How many electric vehicles do you eventually want to be selling?
Well, I think the sales of electric cars are ramping up very quickly in many countries. China, for example. France has announced yesterday that they're going to multiply by 5 the sales of electric cars in the next 5 years. And, this is mainly driven by the regulator putting a lot of incentive in order to support the consumer demand for electric cars. My opinion is, and I've seen the statistics of one of the major consultants saying that by 2030, about 30% of the car sales in mature market will be electric. And this number can be as high as 20% in emerging market. So we are gearing towards 1/3 of the sales of new cars being electric by 2035. So it's a very reasonable statistics. But don't forget, this is not going to be a market-driven demand. This is going to be a regulator-driven demand.
When you are working with regulators, you look at the competition in electric vehicles. I'm looking at Tesla. Is that the key pin-up, do you think, in terms of electric vehicles? Do you have a competitor in the luxury space?
We're not in the premium market. The premium market is obviously an important market, but it is 8 or 9% of the total market. Yeah. We are mainly gearing toward the 91%, which is the core of the market.
With the Zoe.
Exactly. Zoe, which is the Leaf, which is the Quid EV that we are bringing in China. This is where we are going for it. And we are very optimistic on the fact that demand is going to be here. And again, it's not the consumer who's going to be asking for electric car. He's going to end up saying electric car is the best solution for me, taking into consideration everything the regulator in his country is deciding.
Regulators talk about regions. I mean, Nissan is French. We have, of course, the Japanese when you look at Nissan and Mitsubishi. Where regionally is the most exciting for developing these sorts of technologies for your business?
Well, depending on the technology. For example, electric car now is hot in China, without any doubt. Autonomous car is practically everywhere. That means United States, Japan, Europe, China also. Connectivity also is everywhere. So we are prototyping and we are testing in the major markets in the world, because when we develop the technology, we want also to communicate with the regulator all the time so he or she can get familiar with this technology. So when time comes for the regulating this technology, they already have a lot of data in mind, and we have something which is reasonable.
What else is driving growth? Is it SUVs? Is it the commercial vehicles?
No, I think today the trend is still on crossovers. I mean, this is a trend we're seeing in the United States, we're seeing it in Europe, we're seeing it in China. Crossovers are taking over. That means this is the segment which is growing the most in the car industry.
What about your future when it comes to Renault and Nissan? Are we going to start to see, and will a merger be eventual between those two companies?
You're going to see more and more convergence between the companies, Renault, Nissan and Mitsubishi, and you're going to see more and more integration, which means, today we have already decided to have a common engineering, we have decided to have a common manufacturing, we have decided to have common purchasing. So this move towards more integration, toward doing more things in common, still at the same time maintaining different brands, maintaining different identities, you're going to continue to see it. Now, the main question today is about how sustainable is this model, particularly when the leaders of today will retire and you have new leaders coming who have not known the beginning of the lines. This is a fair question on which we need to answer. how to maintain the sustainability of the system, driving more and more synergies between the company, and at the same time, independently of who is leading what. So this should not be only limited to the people who have known the beginning of the lines. There are plenty of solutions for this. Merger is one option. It's not the only one. There may be other options. We'll have to be patient. We'll bring a solution in due time.
What's your perfect solution for you?
I think, frankly, the perfect solution is the one that maintains this drive for synergies and at the same time pride and autonomy for the different brands. This is extremely important because at the end of the day, you need people who are proud of their brand going and fighting in all the markets because this is tough. It's a very competitive industry. But at the same time, you don't want duplication. We develop one technology, one platform, we buy together. Everything that the consumer doesn't really care for should be done in common for the sake of efficiency and for the sake, at the end of the day, price of our cars.
Will the governments be happy of Japan?
No, I think all governments, that they are happy about the lines. They want the lines to continue to work, and they want it to be done, benefiting each one of the component of the lines, which is very fair, and there are many ways to do it.
Carlos Ghosn, we'll keep in touch with you to hear how that continues to develop. It's been wonderful speaking to you, of course, CEO and chairman of the Renault Nissan Mitsubishi Alliance.